The UFC has produced high-level fighters who put on great fights over the years, and there are some fighters who are known for their violent fighting style and have dispatched their opponents in a devastating fashion. So here is 6 intimidating fighters in the UFC. Number 6. Conor McGregor's opponents often get intimidated by his antics and trash talk leading up to the fight. His confidence in and outside the octagon often freezes his opponents, where it totally puts them off their game plan. This was seen in his fight against Eddie Alvarez at UFC 205, where he stood in front of him with his hands behind his back, mocking him in front of a sold-out arena. As soon as his opponents feel his hands, they are often shocked as to how hard he hits and how quick he is inside the octagon. Number 5. Nick Diaz always finds new ways to intimidate his opponents whenever he fights. He likes to talk trash to his opponents whilst inside the octagon, forcing them to engage in the fight. One of his favourite things to do is to taunt his opponents, which leads to his opponents making mistakes. He most notably lied down in front of Anderson Silva for a brief moment at UFC 183, as Anderson Silva wasn't engaging with him in the fight. His constant pressure and his volume striking has broken his opponents in the past. This was seen when he survived Paul Daly's onslaught and came back, finishing him at the end of the first round. Number 4. Robbie Lawler's fighting style, combined with his knockout power, has made him into one of the most popular fighters in the UFC roster today. He often starts slow in the first few rounds, where he unleashes his ruthless aggression in the later rounds, which has proved quite effective for him in his recent fights. One thing to note is that Robbie Lawler will continue to fight no matter what condition he is in, and will always push for the finish. When he fought Rory McDonald at UFC 189, Robbie Lawler had split his lip open quite severely, which didn't stop him pushing the pace throughout the 5 rounds. Both fighters were bloodied up very badly, where Robbie Lawler eventually got the TKO victory in the 5th round. Number 3. Cris Cyborg's opponents are intimidated by the way she has brutally destroyed her previous opponents. Whenever she competes, she has only one thing in mind, and that is to completely maul her opponent. You can always guarantee that she will try her best to end the fight as quick as she can. Her freakish brute strength, combined with the violent fighting style, has completely overwhelmed her opponents. She most notably put a one-sided beating on Lena Landsberg and had her bloodied up very badly, eventually finishing her by TKO in the 2nd round at UFC Fight Night 95. Number 2. Cain Velasquez is one of the most intimidating fighters in the UFC heavyweight division today. Although he may not seem as a big heavyweight, he has proved time and time again that size clearly doesn't matter. He brutalized Brock Lesnar at UFC 121, taking his heavyweight belt, and violently brutalized Antonio Silva, but after he was done with him, there was just blood everywhere inside the octagon. His enormous gas tank, combined with his relentless pressure and his high-level wrestling, allows him to overpower his opponents, giving his opponents no space to breathe. Number 1. Anthony Johnson is one of the most intimidating fighters in the UFC today. He is one of the hardest hitters in the promotion, where he has made easy work of top UFC light heavyweights such as Alexander Gustafsson, Ryan Bader, Jimmy Manuwa and Glover Teixeira. His game plan is pretty simple, is to come and knock your head off and to inflict as much damage as possible. He always comes forward with full force and doesn't give his opponents any chance to get comfortable with him inside the octagon. When he faced Ryan Bader at UFC on Fox 18, it was clear that he didn't want no part in standing with Anthony Johnson, where he panicked and went for a takedown. Anthony Johnson was able to stuff his takedown and easily moved to full mount, finishing the fight by knockout in the 1st round.